I think in the past, as an environmentalist, it was really hard for me to have discussions around queerness because I thought that's not connected. Or being a person of color, it's like, don't talk about your race, just talk about what you're trying to fight for. But I felt like I couldn't really leave those things behind me. And they were always a part of me. And I think that's how we show up in movements, is that we show up for our hearts, we show up for those people. My name is Isaias Hernandez. I am an environmental educator and the content creator of Queer Brown Vegan. I am an eco nerd.
Clearly, your messaging is resonating with a lot of people. What do you think it is about your storytelling and your message that gets so many people involved?
I think my primary goal was actually just to really make climate media more fun and accessible. My biggest fans on TV were like Nat Geo and Discovery Channel, like Bill Nye, like David Attenborough. Like, you have all these really unique environmentalists who have really paved the way in their own industry. I often found it really hard for like someone who is a queer person of color to really understand if I'm good enough to be in that space. I think the Queer Brown Vegan branding came about because I think it kind of made me known specifically in that space. I explore really different topics of niche environmental subjects, whether that's through gremlin core, whether that's through like petromasculinity, ecofeminism, and lab-grown meat. I think there's really a momentum and a crave for people just wanting to learn things that they may have not been exposed to.
So how did you first get into climate activism and education, and was there a light bulb moment?
My environmental activism journey started when I was a teenager. So growing up from parents who had immigrated from Mexico to the United States, I lived in poverty my whole life. The environments that I lived in Los Angeles, I lived in the San Fernando Valley, which is a large proportion of Black and Latin populations that live there. And I lived across the street from an old chemical facility. And then there's the train track from the Metrolink that goes from the valley to downtown LA. And there was like smog in the air and there was noise pollution, and just realizing like this is just a part of life. My dad took me on the weekends to garden. He was a landscape gardener, and me and my brother were working with him on Saturday and Sundays, cleaning affluent people's homes in Los Angeles. And I remember just realizing like, oh, I wish one day like, you know, my community can have some type of green space like this.
So let's talk about the vegan part. When did you decide to go vegan and why?
I was really battling myself of like, what are the things that I can do right now that are easy? What are the things that you are willing to give up as an American that has a lot of privilege in this system? And I saw that of me divesting away from meat. And I did it through a reductionary standpoint. I didn't punish myself of saying, you're cutting off all meat. No. I was just like, I don't eat fish. I rarely eat it, so let's cut off fish.
Yeah.
And I trained my brain to be like, it sounds good. And then I was like, chicken or beef. And I was like, I don't really eat beef, so let's cut off beef.
What is the action we can all take to drive the change that we need?
I think the action that we can take is climate education. Many of us have been inspired by that one favorite teacher in our lives that really inspired us to do what we want. Become your own teacher. Become a teacher to your kids, to your family members, to your best friends, because at the end of the day, that's where the closest information is transcribed. Our personal relationships is actually what's going to help us create that larger cultural shift in order to get to the other side.